Hi, my name is Dong. I'm a Canadian animator working in the Japanese animation industry. I remember my first ever job in the industry was drawing Genga or tie-down animation for another animator's rough drawings on a Mappa show. What are these words I just said? Let me explain. Also, stay until the end of the video where I talk about how you too can get work in Japanese anime drawing Genga without having much experience or Japanese ability. During the animation process, the animator would start by animating their scene in a rough manner, mainly looking to nail the movements down. Rough animation in Japanese is called rough Genga. Here, for example, I have some drawings I made. This is two drawings of a character waving her arm, A1 and A2 respectively. And here is the timesheet for this scene. Pretty simple, with two in-between drawings between my two key drawings marked by the dashes. These rough animation cells are too rough, and they need to be tightened up before they go to cleanup. Your directors might also want some areas drawn differently, and their suggestions have to be implemented. After the roughs, the enshitsu, also known as the episode director or animation director in English, does a draw over on a new piece of paper, usually pink. The enshitsu mostly fixes staging, posing, and other minor elements. Here, the enshitsu wants a different outfit for the character, and maybe the animator used the wrong model sheets, which can happen sometimes. The episode director also wants a different timing for the scene, as you can see with this new timing diagram. In addition, the episode director has also retimed the timesheet, as you can see in the column over here. Next, the kantoku or director also does a draw over, usually on a light blue sheet of paper. The director is generally concerned with the overall composition of the scene and really anything else they want to see changed. Here, the director wants the location of the character's pupils shifted up a bit and wants some blush on her cheeks. After that, the sakuga kantoku, or sakkan for short, does their draw over. They are often the character designer of the show or just someone with a high level of draftsmanship. I often call them the sakuga director, with sakuga meaning to create an image. On a yellow piece of paper, they take the drawing and really put it on model. They are here to fix any drawing issues and to make sure that the look of the characters stay consistent throughout the runtime of an episode. And finally, we have the sole sakuga director or sole sakkan drawing on a green piece of paper. This is a very senior artist. They are generally a senior character designer with just highly skilled, and probably the most skilled and senior artist in the studio. They have the final say on the drawing, and here they took the sakuga director's drawings and put the character's eyes further on model. Now we take all of our director's drawovers and incorporate them into a new tightened down drawing. This drawing we are making is called Genga in Japan and tie-downs in the West. We do this so that the cleanup animators can have a much easier time when they do their thing. Let's go through the Genga process now. I'll be doing this in Clip Studio Paint. You can also use other software as well, of course. Photoshop is also pretty popular. If you'd like to know how to use Clip Studio Paint, I have a video on that. Files are down below, so follow along. I have already set up my file. It is A4 sized with two cells here in my timeline, one for each of the keys. You are going to need a template for the peg holes if you are working digitally. You can use mine if you want, and it's in the description. In Clip Studio Paint, you can just drag it in and set it to multiply. When you draw Genga, you will generally be given a folder with all the files you need. Let's drag in our keys into our timeline. And after that, let's drag in the drawovers starting with the enshitsu, kantoku, sakkan, and finally sole sakkan in that order. If the studio gives you scans of traditional drawings, make sure to match the peg hole positions. Let's create a new layer for the line work, and using the drawovers as reference, let's draw our Genga. We'll start from the top, so hide everything except the sole sakuga director's drawing, lower the opacity a bit, and using a solid line, let's trace the drawing. The sole sakkan is very senior, and you should trace the drawings without making any deviations. keep the lines relatively clean, but since this is still part of rough animation technically, they don't have to be perfect. When doing the red and blue color separation lines, I recommend drawing them on a new layer. Alright, let's go down the drawovers to the Sakang or Sakuga director's drawings. Here we do the same thing we did as before and continue on the line work. You should trace the drawover unless there is a reason to not to. Sometimes the drawings will be very rough, so you are forced to use it as reference. Sometimes there might be deviations from the model sheet and you should make some fixes if so. Make sure to refer often to the model sheets if they are given to you. Here, I like to use the curve tool in addition to the brush tool to draw these long flowing lines. Okay, next is the Kantoku's drawover. We have already incorporated the eyes, so all that is left to do is to add the blush lines for the cheek. Easy peasy. Then we have the Enshitsu's drawing. Here we incorporate the rest of the character's clothing. Also, we have to make sure that we write in the Enshitsu's new timing chart. And lastly, we have the original rough Genga drawing. We draw the rest of the Genga based on that. Think of the rough Genga as reference, and you don't need to trace it line for line. Look for ways to make the drawings better, and refer back to the model sheets if you have them. Once the line work is done, let's shade in the drawing on a new layer. You can use the paint bucket tool if you want, personal preference. I like to use different colors to help differentiate the different parts of the character. With drawing A2 done, we have to draw A1 now. There are no drawovers for A1, so we will have to use the A2 drawing as reference and match the A1 drawing to that. We also can't just trace this since the finished Genga drawings changed substantially from the original roughs. I recommend you to flip between the two drawings often and use the onion skin feature of your software. There are some advanced methods to help you with drawing, but they are beyond the scope of this video. My tip is just to look between your drawings and make sure that things such as the shape of the character's jaw is consistent and that the hair and other elements aren't changing in volume. Here, parts of the character's hair are behind her arm. It would help the in-between animators tremendously if you can draw this in a different color. And like with drawing A2, we have to add the color separation lines and shade it in. And there we go. our finished Genga tie-down drawings. We also have to fix our timesheet. Remember when the Enshitsu made some corrections in the timing? We will have to edit or rewrite the original timing column so that it matches the Enshitsu's corrections. With that done, we can export it as a JPEG. And we can do the same thing with our Genga drawings. Here's a 1 and a 2. Now, if this was for a job, I would hand in those JPEGs we just exported, and we can call it a job well done. So now let's talk about how you can get work doing Genga without Japanese ability or experience in the industry. When you do Genga for someone else's animation, the process is called second key animation or Daini Genga or Nigen for short. You want to look for Nigen work. Animation studios are often short-staffed, and you can generally find a lot of work doing Nigen, even if you have little experience in the industry. To find work, you need to contact the production manager or the producer for a production in the studio. If you look at the credits of film and television, it's these guys. Search their name, find their Twitter accounts, and send them a message. Send something simple, in English if you can write Japanese. Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm looking for Nigen, and here I have the kanji here, work. Here's my demo reel, and insert a link to your previous work, professional or otherwise. I have a video on making your demo reel if you haven't done one before. Keep it simple so that if the studio does not have English-speaking staff, they can still figure it out with Google Translate or something. Obviously, write this in Japanese if you speak the language. Unlike with rough animation, there is no meeting required, and they just give you the files, a deadline, and you just do the work. The pay is around 2,000 to 7,000-ish yen for a cut depending on its complexity. Do a couple of these and you can move up the ranks in no time. If you have any questions, ask your production manager, and if you can't read something, ask your Japanese buddy to help you out. I think this is a great way to get in some practice while getting paid when you have a weekend free or something. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks to everyone who is supporting the channel on Patreon. If you would like to support the channel, links are down below, and Patreon members get some unique content to them every month, including behind-the-scenes work on various anime. Other than that, check out my social media, and I'll see you next time.